Welcome, everybody. I am so excited for our episode today with Sarah Foley. Thank you so much for joining me, Sarah.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. It's been a long time in the making.
Oh my goodness. I know. Okay, so we have so many things. First of all, everyone listening, it's going to just be like listening to like friends chatting because we have so many things in common. There's so many things I want to talk to you about, Sarah. We met in person finally at the National Speakers Association event, but we've been connected online for a few years, right?
Yeah, quite a while now.
Yeah, and I've been like one of your, just like quietly watching you on Instagram and stuff. Oh, you know what, Sarah? I also saw you speak at the Powerhouse Women event.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's probably where we originally got
Yes.
on each other's radar.
Oh my goodness. For those of you listening, Sarah is just an absolutely phenomenal speaker. And I get goosebumps thinking about, I remember you came onto the stage and you just captivated all of us. And so ever since then, I've been like watching in the wings, just like, oh, hi, Sarah. So I'm so excited. So Sarah, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Everyone listening, stay tuned because we've got some good for you. So prepare to be inspired with Sarah Foley, also known as Vertical Blonde, who was recently named one of the top 5 female speakers igniting humanity in USA Today. What? I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Yes.
Wow, that is fantastic. Wow, oh my goodness. So, from a life altering ATV accident in 2012 that left her feeling disabled, Sarah has transformed into a powerful icon, gracing stages and platforms like the Tony Robbins podcast. Oh, those of you listening know that I love Tony Robbins and the Mel Robbins show. Unbelievable. Sarah's story is one of resilience and possibility. Through her work as a certified Tony Robbins Breakthrough Coach and her diverse background in wellness and television industries, Sarah has empowered thousands to embrace their stories, gain confidence, and become icons in their own right. Today, she is dedicated to helping others harness the power of their narrative to make a positive impact on themselves, their communities, and the world, which she does not only from stage, but also as she trains aspiring speakers, which you know I love, in the Icon Speaker Academy. Absolutely amazing, Sarah. Get ready to be inspired and motivated by the remarkable wisdom and perspective of Sarah Foley, the Vertical Blonde. I didn't even know some of these things about you, and I've been following you.
Maybe I need to be talking about him a little bit more then. That's not a good
Oh
sign,
my
right?
goodness, but that's so amazing. Okay, so what a
It's been a
bio.
while.
First of all, I would really love if you would just like, kind of catch, because not everybody knows you, kind of like I do, that's kind of knows a little bit of your story and has been following you. So could you just kind of catch our listeners up on a little bit of your background, your story, and how you got to what it is that you're doing now?
Absolutely. So all my life, I had this pull to the stage, to the screen for acting and performance. There was something so, made me feel so alive, so at home. And I actually did host a television show for many years out in Palm Springs, had a great background in that. And I was always interviewing other people on their stories. And a few things came from that. One, I felt like I was always interviewing someone else and I didn't have something of merit to be speaking about for myself. And the other was that it felt like it lacked depth. I hosted a show, it was like basically Entertainment Tonight for Palm Springs Valley. So it was very the light, fluffy stuff. And I just wanted some depth. And life kind of gives us what we want, I think, in weird packages. And in 2012, I was in an ATV accident that did leave me paralyzed instantly. It was like the lower half of my body was literally just taken off. And that entire experience of healing through that, specifically those first 4 years of just denial at its finest, like I'm just going to pretend like it didn't happen. And I put on the smile and I just, pretended to be an inspiration. But I was really, really hurting inside and decided to really go all in on my healing journey and just really opened myself up to healers and to anyone and anything that would shift my perspective and get me just feeling good again, honestly. And I was led to therapists, personal trainers, women's circles, Tony Robbins, personal growth, all these different things. And it just kind of like transformed me from the inside out. And as I was going through all of that, I was actually living in Maui at the time. A lot of people back home in Utah wanted to know, how are things going? What's going on with your healing? So I just started I was like, well, I'll just write stories and let them know and keep them updated. And so I decided to start a blog. And I knew at that point my words had so much power because, frankly, I would call myself disabled and I was becoming more and more disabled. And so I came up with this, what at the time felt like this cheesy little name for myself, a vertical blonde. And it was just this, every time I said it, I would sit up a little taller and I would wear different clothes. Like, what would vertical blonde wear? And how would she treat her body today? And what would she eat? And it would just shift my perspective of, you know, quote unquote disabled Sarah and vertical blonde were making very different choices. And so as I made those different choices, people started asking me to share the story on different stages. They started small in living rooms and then they grew to, bigger and bigger and bigger. And I realized, oh, everything I loved from my television and acting and performance world, now coupled with this depth and this healing and this knowledge and wisdom that I can gift to other people, and doing it through the lens of what I call my iconic identity. And so I love guiding people to come up with their own name and what does it stand for and what are their attributes and making different choices based on that name. So I feel like now in this weird package, I got everything I wanted. And so it's just all come together in a really beautiful way. And that's where we are today.
Oh my goodness. I have so many notes written down already. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think the first place I want to go is, people listening to just even that little snippet of your story that you shared with us. Many people can't even imagine. Like we can't, obviously we have not lived your experience. I know some people listening have been through things that might feel similar or their version of, very traumatic experiences. But unless we've lived your exact experience, we don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so, but just as a listener to it, it's like, how do you get back up from something like that when your entire identity, the whole life, I mean, you were out hiking, right? Or well, you went in ATV, but you were a hiker too, weren't you?
We went on a hike that morning, which
Okay.
is almost an eerie part of the story. Went on a hike that morning. I was dating a new guy, so it was him and I literally turned to him and I said, God, my life's perfect right now.
Oh,
There's nothing I would change. And then 4 hours later, I was upside down in a ditch under a four-wheeler. I couldn't move the lower half of my body. I broke almost every rib, my clavicle, and just laying there, just going, what in the world just happened? And you say, kind of like when you're in that, like, how do you get back up and how, because you're in it, right? And Mel Robbins was one that actually really supported me through this. I ended up getting on her show, and the show was around forgiveness. And frankly, I thought I was doing a really good job around forgiveness and forgiving that boyfriend, because not on purpose, obviously, but inadvertently he had caused the accident. He had gone up ahead to make sure the trail was safe. When he came back down, his friend had already told me to go back up. So we came around this bend at the same time. And in order to avoid him, I ended up going off the trail, flipping and hitting a ditch, and the rest is history. And so I would say I had forgiven him. But if anything had gone wrong, like I fell out of my chair or something didn't go right, in my head, I'd just be like, can't put me in this stupid chair. It was just, I needed somewhere to throw that blame. And so I go on the Mel Robbins show on my high horse, mind you, like, oh, I know everything about forgiveness. I am walking it, right? And she gets me on the show, and I don't know what came over me. I just literally start like word vomiting all this blame. And I don't know if it was the way Mel had opened up the question. I don't know what it was,
something.
but I just like unleashed. I remember coming up basically for air and her looking at me with this face of, you're still in the ditch. Like it's been 6, 7, 8 years. You're still in the ditch. And I said, yeah, but he put me here. And she said, I don't care who put you there. It's your job to get yourself out. And it was like punch in the gut, national television, right? All of this playing on national television. And me just thinking like, oh my gosh, like this is never going to change. I am never going to feel better if I'm still throwing all of my blame? Because when we blame, we also give all of our power away to whatever it is. And so when we stop the blame, we literally like take that power back to us of, okay, it's in my control now. And I love the name of your podcast of it. It starts with you. It's like, that's the name of the game. It doesn't change if you do not take full responsibility of where you are. And the word acceptance was really hard for me because I was like, how am I supposed to accept this if I hate it? And yet I finally realized that acceptance doesn't mean you like it. It just means you accept that this is your starting point, right? And then it goes back to you and what do you want to do with it? So when you're in it, take that power back, release the blame, and you say, what do I do from this place in order to feel however I want to feel? And if you don't know that first step, just begin with your body. Just begin by moving your body differently. Forget about trying to heal and all the things. Just start moving your body differently. And I promise everything starts to get in motion as well.
Wow. I mean, I'm just listening and thinking that is a really big thing to forgive someone for, right? To blame them for that. And it's a big thing. And there are much smaller things that people hold on to.
Yeah.
Much smaller than putting someone in a chair to being like smaller things that people hold on to. And there's so much blame. And so even just this idea, I'm curious, it just like popped up for me. I'm curious, given what you've been through, do you get almost mad if people are holding on to blame or they're complaining about things that are going on in their life and you're like, okay, it's not that big. I'm just curious, like, what is your perspective on that?
Yes and no. Twofold, right? If they're complaining and it's not as a means to get them out of it. Sometimes we have to vent it through, right? To actually see the light and kind of like work it through. So if their goal is not to get better, their goal is just literally to complain. Yeah, I'm like, shut up, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if my little boy is like in a it doesn't happen very often, but if he's in a crabby, complaining mood, I go get my other wheelchair out of the garage and I make him just live in the wheelchair for the day. And I'm like, okay, like, do you see how little there is to actually complain about? It's just like, it just shifts perspective, right? Not that a wheelchair is a bad thing, because it really isn't. It's a source of freedom, but it just shifts your perspective on what's really hard and what's really not. But then on the other side, I'll get this a lot with friends where it's like, oh, I can't complain about what's going on in my life because you have it so much worse. That's what pisses me off. Don't you dare do that. Don't you dare compare pain. First of all, don't you dare. That's a big deal to you. Let me be your friend. Let me help you through it, or let me be there for you. You may need to vent, whatever process. You're probably like me, where we only really surround ourselves with people that are looking to complain and vent to work it out, right? Like they're growth-minded people. So I don't really surround myself with complainers in general, but I don't like it when they compare their pain to mine.
Yeah. And just that shifting of perspective, because you talked about, really starting to own your identity, and you have this, what's your kind of trademarked or registered as like icon identity, iconic?
Can't to icon.
I can't
so
to
the
icon.
difference between like I can and I can't is just in the doing. But when you really want to change things, it's in an identity. It's no, I'm icon. So yeah, that's where
I love that. I mean, and I think I've told you this before, which we talked about, when your branding is really in alignment. When I hear the word icon, I think of you, because I see that with your branding. But you took so much ownership. And I think just in this world right now, people are so quick to point fingers and that blame, like you said. And sometimes it's just needing that perspective. And also people feel like there's so much outside of themselves. Well, I can't do that. I can't be like that because of all these things. And so you really took so much ownership of creating, even this, this vertical blend, like you created this new identity for yourself. It's like, what would someone like that do? So talk to us a little bit, if someone is feeling kind of stuck in the ditch, so to say, they're like in their own experience where they haven't gotten out yet.
Yeah, well, I think that here it is. We're more in control of who we are than we think we are, right? We think this is who we are, but it's just who we've practiced being. So if you want to shift and change, you just need to practice being a new version of yourself, right? And so when I have people name it, it's because it kind of packages it. I know what Vertical Blonde stands for. I know she's assertive. I know she's goal driven. I know she is super soul driven as well. Like she wants heart and depth and like richness in everything she does. And so staying in alignment with that is really, really important. I know how she shows up. I know she enters a room. I know what she wears. I know exactly who she is because I've literally created her. And Tony Robbins talks about this a lot. He talks a lot about, he's like, I created this man, Tony Robbins. And so when you actually take ownership of that, of like, no, who do I want to like truly become? And if I am fully in control and I get to name it, I get to call it out, I get to literally write it all out and describe it and become it, that is power, and it's powerful. And then I always say, put yourself in safe spaces to take the risk. So like I do this a lot with my Icon Academy, right? Where inside the Icon Academy, we are living it out. We are calling each other by that icon name. We are nudging it. We're saying play bigger. And so when you get in that space where it's really safe to take that risk of becoming new, then when you go out into the real world, it's a lot easier because you've practiced it in a place that is nurturing it.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to practice it and fake it till you make it, right? We hear that all the time. This is not faking it whatsoever. This is literally asking myself, no, that version of me is already in me. Otherwise, I wouldn't feel called to it. That's step number one, right? I already know that's there.
Yeah, it's there.
It's goosebumpy.
I know it is. I'm like goosebumps again. Like if you could see my goosebumps right now.
I love that. It's already there.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is just call it out and just put that one kind of in the spotlight and up front and give that one the microphone versus the one that has been calling the shots for a while that maybe you aren't so happy with, right? And this goes for different areas of our life, right? Like I've got an iconic identity for who I am as a mom. Like when I got to really like step up, I am the mother. Like the mother shows up. And like she makes very different choices, right? Than Sarah that just wants to be liked by your kid. It's like, no, I'm going to be firm and kind. I'm going to show exactly how I'm going to show up. So we can use this in all areas of our life and really just, it really comes down to a choice.
I love that. And I always say it's sort of that like empowering, but also that tough love where it's like you do get the choice, right? And that's one of the reasons that I picked It Starts With You like the name, because I think sometimes people think it's an either or there's like a but there's so much and, meaning I can be this and I can be that. I can do that and I can feel this and I can feel this. Like it doesn't have to be. And so sometimes I think it's just reminding people that they have a choice and that they can choose to see all the negative. They can choose to see themselves one way, or they could choose to see themselves. And just to know too, and I'm sure, you when people look at you and they're like, look at all these things that she's done and all these things that she's been through, like, how does she do that? No, I think you're always transparent, honest too, to say, yeah, I have this identity and like this is who I see, but it's not always who's taking the mic, right? Sometimes that self-doubt's taking the mic. And so I think sometimes if people look and like, oh, they have it all figured out, how did they do all that? It's just that reminder too, that it's a choice. Like you are making that choice.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes that choice is easier because you feel in the flow and like everything's going well. And then there's other times that you have to make that choice when things aren't going well. Like I'm sure you've had, so many things that you had planned to do or things that that didn't go the way you wanted, but you still had to make the choice to keep showing up.
Absolutely. My body has different plans constantly, And so I also know what I need to do to get proactive. I need to get ahead of my body per se. I know what makes my body feel good and feel bad. And so I need to make sure that that's consistency. But it took consistency in years to get where I'm at right now. And when I was really going through it, I was silent on social media. I was not on social. I was so in my world of healing. I was so present. I was so committed that I was pouring all of myself into it. You don't see that, right? I could talk about it, but unfortunately, I didn't capture a lot of it. And on one hand, I wish I kind of would be able to show. But on the other hand, I'm glad I didn't because I was so present. And there's nothing wrong with literally detaching from the digital world and going all in on your fully present world. My son and I do something. Some days some weeks he hates it. Some weeks it's the best ever. We do no screen Sundays. Every screen in our house is off limits. I
Oh,
can't
wow.
check my phone. I can't even run my music through my phone. I have to do it through the Alexa. Like, we do not do any kind of screens, and we completely detach screen wise, and we go all in on connection. This last Sunday, 2 days ago or whatever, we literally both started bawling in the kitchen because we were so happy of the simplicity of baking cookies. And we'd gone like Christmas shopping, and it was just one of the best days because we were so fully present with each other. And it was a day that we just needed so badly because, frankly, I mean, as much as I love what digital does for marketing and connection, I think it also is a huge hindrance. And if we do not take ownership of it and we do not put limits on ourselves, it is an addiction. It is something that takes us out of our real world. So get present with yourself, with what's happening around you, with healing opportunities, with everything that's really at your disposal. So
I love that. I wrote that down. That's something that, and I absolutely love when I get to talk to guests because I take something like multiple things away from every time. I'm like, oh, yes, that has been something on our family list too, is to figure out, it's so easy to grab your phone and check things. And just, again, I also have a son. It's like what we're teaching them. So I love that. And also tying it into like the thing that I really think of you for, like, identity. And if you're trying to create this iconic identity and you're trying to get clear on who is this person and how do they show up? I agree. I'm always conflicted on social media because I've made so many connections through social media, so many people I got to meet and opportunities. And at the same time, what I can find is when I get really clear on like, yeah, like what is this level of Julie gonna do? What is our business gonna do? It can get so clouded by all of the stuff online.
there's so much noise. And
Yeah.
we think, well, they're doing it that way, so I must have to do it that way. We see this a lot of the speakers, right? It's the
Yeah.
wild, wild west.
Oh yeah.
Everyone does their business a different way, and it works for
Mhm.
everybody. So it's so hard to know what to do. So when we can get really quiet and maybe have those specific sounding board people that we're like, we trust not only that they're going to support us, but also challenge us and
Mhm.
tell us to go bigger or let us know when we are not in alignment. Like, really hang on to those people and nurture them. Nurture is the key word, right?
Mhm.
I always say, be the friend that you want to have. Like, make sure you go out and
Mhm.
become that friend to everybody else that you're wanting to attract back. But I just think that it gets so noisy.
Mhm.
And instead, we can just get really, really quiet. I do something called a mentor exercise. I do
Mhm.
this in a lot of workshops, like if I'm speaking for corporate leadership, things like this, because sometimes it can get noisy of like, well, what do I even put on this iconic identity list?
Yeah.
And what does it even look like? And so I'll have them literally go through, you can even do this right now as a listener, go through and write out all the people that you look up to. Could be alive, dead, known or unknown, right? Celebrities or your grandma and everything in between.
Mhm.
Just at least 5 or 6 people that you really, really look up to. If you can, get up to like 10 or 12. And next to each one, you're going to write the characteristics that you admire. Why do you look up to them so much? Why are you inspired, drawn? Why do you admire them? And write out those specific characteristics, perhaps even a moment that you really witnessed them in that. You're going to go through and write out each of those, at least 3 to 5 characteristics for each person. And then the magic happens. You're literally going to go through your list. You're going to cross off each name, and you're left with your iconic
Mm.
identity. Because what you see in those people is a mirror of what's already inside of you, craving to get out. Craving. So there it
That
is.
is an amazing exercise. So pause this episode right now. Do that exercise that Sarah just shared. I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah.
Because that is just like
It's
we
so
look
cool
to
to
other
see.
people and they're like, they're this, this, and this. And you forget that you are that or you could be that.
Totally. And it's fun to see it all come together as like this mishmash that is you, right? Like on my list, I've got Tony Robbins, I've got Marilyn Monroe, I've got my mom in her 20s. I've got these different people and they're all very different, but the characteristics of what is specifically I admire about them is what helps me funnel that out of what Vertical Blonde stands for.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, like very
Yeah.
actionable thing. So for those of you listening, whether you are an entrepreneur, a small business owner, or an admirer, one that wants to be that, or if you're a leader in an organization, if you're an individual contributor, like no matter who you are, this is a great exercise too to do as we're, when this episode launches here in the early part of the new year, it's a great time to do that if you're trying to get really clear on who you want to show up as. So a couple of things I want to make sure we talk about, Sarah, before we have to hop off is you mentioned your Icon Academy. And so now remind me, I've seen you do in-person events. Do you have an in-person event as part of that? Because I feel like I remember seeing you do some in-person event where I saw like everyone just vibrant and owning. Like I'm guessing that that's a lot of the things you do, whether it's virtual, in person, as part of that as well, is helping people to really own that identity.
Totally. Well, what I've learned is that when you're hosting anything, none of your attendees are going to outdo you. You set the standard. So I play full out. It's very like dressed to the nines, very iconic, right? It's pulling out our inner icon. So everyone just showing up real big, great music, great energy, all the things. And I do this as smaller events. Sometimes I'll do open mic events for aspiring speakers, and we'll actually like get up on the mic and get some reps in. And then I also do it as a annual event, which I call the Icon Live. Everyone comes. It's like personal growth meets New York Fashion Week meets just vibrant connection and girls' night out. All the boys are included too. So it's men and women, but everyone together. It's usually at a really fun, unexpected place. I usually have a different vibe and energy for each one. And then through that, it's people just really experiencing what I teach. And I teach public speaking, but I think what I really am really good at is helping people own that voice of that iconic self and bringing that to the stage and stages of life, right? That stage of motherhood, that stage of leadership, that stage with an actual microphone, whatever it is, but they are bringing that in every area of their life. And I do a lot of this in person. I've yet to do this one virtual. Everyone's been local here in Utah. We may expand it because I feel like I've got a wait list going of people that are out of Utah. But again, going back to getting off screens and getting in person, there is something so magical that takes place with these people as they nurture this in real life. Just constantly nurturing it and honing it and molding it. And it's this continuous, constant process and evolution. And they go all in, and we do it for multiple weeks. We end with a retreat. And so, and some of the people have been, because we've done multiple rounds now, and then they can continue through the year. But I've got people that have been it from the very beginning, and you don't even recognize them. They speak differently. They walk differently. They show up differently. Their goals are massively bigger. And it's just so cool to see.
That's so amazing. We'll make sure that we check out the show notes for more information to be able to check out some of this as well, because I love how you emphasize. And the thing is, it makes so much sense that I guess the word magnetic is like what I think of, like people are drawn to you. That's why you get the stages and people want to do, because they're like, wow, how do I embrace that confidence? How do I embrace that, you're obviously so articulate, and it's just like this thing. Sometimes it's this thing that we can't totally put our finger on that someone has. And so you are helping people to really own that. So that's absolutely amazing. I remember looking at some of the footage from your event. I love the way you described it, and I don't know the words, but it's just this experience. So that's amazing. We'll make sure we do that. Drop that in the show notes. And I have a couple quick kind of rapid fire questions before we wrap up, because I'm so curious. Like, you've done some amazing things. You've gotten this amazing opportunity. So my first question, is there one thing that you have done that's just really stood out as like a, wow, I can't believe I did that, or is like one of your favorite things you've gotten to experience?
God, well, the day that I got the DM from Tony Robbins' team to come and do a whole story on me, and the film crew came out, and that moment was huge. It was just such a, because there's a lot of years where you just keep going, right? And then you reach some kind of pinnacle or a moment that is just like, wow, all of that hard work, all that consistency, all those, tears, all the healing, everything it's so cool that it's come to this. So that moment was really, really big. I've been on his podcast now twice, and it's really cool to have that all transpire. So yeah.
That is so cool. I remember when I saw that and I was like, what? You and I both have connected on, obviously we love speaking and talking about owning our voice, and we both love Tony Robbins. We had been to the event, not the same event, but I think close to it. We had been to the Unleash the Power Within event. So that is so cool. Do you have something else that is kind of on your list that you are just really wanting to achieve that you want to share with us?
Well, it's funny. I'm literally going through this today of setting out for my next year, and I've been working on a book for a while. And so I really want to add published author next to my name. And it is really damn close. We are so close. So that's it for me. I'm a writer at heart. I love writing. It's where I process. I journal every single night. Best sleep medicine ever, I think, is a journal right before bed. And I love writing. I love poetry. I love actually feeling my feelings. And I feel like in writing, that's where I do it. And, but I'm also a perfectionist. So this book has changed course a few times. Yes, which keeps making it just stall out. But this year is the year we are making sure that it happens. And I'm just labeling it as book number 1. So that's helping me to just land on something and keep moving.
Yeah. Well, perfect. We're going to have you back on the podcast then when that book is getting ready to launch, because I know we're all good. I already imagine the cover being very bright and vibrant. That's what I imagine for the cover.
It'll be so good.
I know that people are going to want to stay connected with you, Sarah, and they're going to want to follow you, and they're going to want to be in your energy. So share with the listeners what's the best place that they can stay connected with you.
It's really easy. Vertical Blonde across the board. So any place that you follow anything, I'm always Vertical Blonde. Not very big on X, but everywhere else, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, everything is all Vertical Blonde.
Amazing. And any final words that you want to share with our listeners on anything?
I'll just say this. This has been the biggest teaching or concept that I get the most DMs back of that changed my life. And it's this concept I live by of live ready. I live in anticipation that every single place I'm at, from the Starbucks line to Powerhouse Women event, there is the biggest opportunity of my life to be created, not found, created. And so when I show up with the energy, believing that it's in that room, I will show up very differently. If I go into it thinking biggest opportunity of my life is there, I will dress differently. I'll show up differently. I'll treat my body differently. I will have a different energy. I will be ready. So live ready for your biggest opportunity and release this control of how and what you think it's going to be, because promise you it's going to be even better.
Good. Mic drop. There's just nothing else I can say to that. So thank you for those words. I'm going to leave all of you on those amazing words, and you might need to go back, rewind, and re-listen to that. I know that I will. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. Everything that you share. Those of you who are listening, the best way to thank Sarah is, first of all, send her a message that you listened to this episode. Let her know what stood out, what you loved that she shared. Get into her DMs, ask her about her programs, where she's speaking next. Share this out with other people so that we can get this amazing message out to more people. And thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us.
Love it. Thank you, Julie. Love this so much.